Hey everyone, we're back after a long hiatus. We're back.
We're back
To the Maine Pod Week. Thank you to everybody who listened to our first episode that we did. That one I didn't expect to ever see the light of day, and it did.
Sorry, Nate.
There was a little miscommunication.
My bad.
No, it's all good. It's all good because last I knew there were like 50 downloads on Spotify, which was like 50 more than I expected to see.
Who are you, 50
Who are
people?
you people? I know one of you is my mom. So thanks, Mom, for listening to the pod.
Yep, several of you are family members, so thank you.
And now we're back, and we wanted to do a little bit more of a formal introduction to who we are and what we are doing here and why you should be listening to us, although you don't have to.
No, you have to.
That's right. Sorry, I misread my notes. You do have to. So I really think Julie is probably the best person to talk about the Maine Playweek, which is our mother organization, I guess it's fair to say.
Yeah, our mothership.
Yeah.
Our mothership called the Maine Playweek. This is a publication, news site, information gathering service that I created that publicizes and highlights showtimes of movies playing in theatrical venues across the state of Maine. So it's stuff, like going to see a movie at the Nick or the Maine Film Center in Waterville or the Evening Star in Brunswick or the cinema in Fort Kent, if there are any Fort Kent listeners. We are not forgetting about you. So you can find us on Instagram. This is probably how you found us in the first place, but so far we are on Instagram and Substack. This is how you're hearing the podcast, through Substack. The Maine Playweek, and there's lots more to come.
And we're really excited for that. We've been having meetings and been trying to figure out more ways to reach more people and kind of spread awareness and advocacy for local theaters. It's a kind of ragtag group of people who are putting their heads together and trying to make something that we like, I think, which is a really fun thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I will just add, it's a ragtag bunch of people, but everybody is just so awesome that we're working with. So it's basically me and you, Nate, and my husband, Dan, who is the technical side of things. He's doing the website.
Thank you, Dan.
We've got Charlie, who is doing a lot of the design aspect, a lot of the artistic design. We've got Kyle, we've got Tony, and we've got Nick, who doesn't even live in Maine yet. But he's supporting from afar.
Thank you, Nick.
And so it's just all of these people, including you, Nate, just like came on board and were super enthusiastic and sounds like, want to help out with this. And it's just, it's really nice. And it's really humbling. And everybody's just so talented.
We're throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. And we're hoping this podcast sticks a little bit more. If you listen to our first episode, you may notice that we sound better than we did in the first episode. And that is because we now have our own mics. So we're moving up in the world.
We are.
Yes. Maybe you're wondering exactly who we are and why we have the credentials to talk to you about film and tell you what we think about movies. Well, we might not. We just like movies. And I think...
there's tons of idiots on the internet who talk about movies.
And now there's two more.
And now there's two more idiots.
I think one thing that Julia and I talked about, too, is that we don't really want this to be a film... like a capital F film podcast, there's plenty of people.
Film.
Yeah, I don't think many people care what I think about a movie and how I dissect the themes and XYZ. Maybe people do, but that's a different podcast. In sort of
follow Nate on Letterboxd.
Yeah, or you can follow me on Letterboxd at Nate's Movie Club. So sort of in keeping with what Julia was talking about in terms of sort of this raising awareness of local cinemas and local film and advocacy for going to see them, we just kind of want to talk about going to the movies, and what movies you like to go see and who you go see them with and when you go see them. And maybe most importantly, what is your movie snack? So, we're going to be getting down to the real nitty gritty of that kind of thing, hopefully here. A little bit about ourselves. Julia, do you want to introduce yourself and tell our thousands of listeners who you are and why they should listen to your movie opinions?
That's a good question. So my name is Julia Dunleavy. As I said, I am the founder of the Maine Playweek. I used to work at the Maine Film Center in Waterville. I was the assistant executive director, which meant I did a ton of random different things. As you do at a small nonprofit theater, you wear a lot of hats. Now I work in the film booking world. So I have clients all across the country, none in Maine yet, but we're hoping to change that. If any theaters are listening and need a film booking service, please reach out. Basically, we negotiate the rights to films for these theaters, and so we help them get the films into their theaters for their audiences.
Question for you, and this may be a question that is on the minds of many a listener. What's a play week?
Such a good question. Okay, so a play week is a unit of measurement, a unit of time that we use in the industry. And so new films will open on Fridays. That's almost all the time. That's when films open, is on Fridays. So Friday is the first day you're going to be able to see, let's say, Sinners. And so that Friday through the following Thursday is called a play week. And so films open on a certain Friday, a certain play week, and then oftentimes, if they do well, they get held over to the next play week. And so this is kind of the unit of measurement that film bookers like me and cinema operators and distributors, this is the term that we use to kind of measure and plan when films are getting released. And so the idea behind the Maine Play Week is that it would be a way for the audience in Maine, you guys, to be able to plan and figure out when things are actually playing, when things are opening. So that's what a play week means.
That's what that is. And that is not something that I knew before. I said to Julia a couple months ago, Julia, what's a play week and why are we called that? But now I know, and my knowledge of film booking has grown.
And part of my mission with the Maine Play Week is actually to spread awareness and be sort of an educational opportunity for people who don't work in the film exhibition industry to learn a bit more about how this industry works and why it is that you can see certain films sometimes and then you can't see certain films other times. And sort of give people a peek behind the curtain of, a favorite pastime of ours, going to the movies, and kind of give people a little insight into how the people in power make these decisions.
And there's a lot to it. Again, I've been learning a lot just from the couple months that I've been working with the Maine Play Week. My name is Nate Stevenson. I have no real connection to the professional world of film. I guess that's not true. I'm an actor. So that's got to count for something,
You're
right?
You're a professional actor.
Okay, I guess when you put it like that, then maybe I do have a connection to the world of professional film. I am an actor. I'm a Mainer by birth and now by choice. And that's, I don't know. What else do you want to know? That's
just
all me.
You're a man about town.
Yeah.
A general man about town.
I'm a professional actor, a Mainer, and a man about town. You heard it here first. And I do genuinely love going to the movies, and I've been learning to love film more and more and more through various people. And, the more you dip into the world of film and viewing films, the more you find people who like them and want to talk about them. And that's been really great. Portland, I think, is a great town for film. Since working with Julia on the Play Week, I've become aware of how many places are showing movies in town, and places I would not necessarily think to go to, and communities that sort of show appreciation for film that I wouldn't have expected necessarily. So again, we've just kind of gotten back from a busy spell and a hiatus. Right before we kind of disappeared was the death of David Lynch, and that was really incredible to see how people reacted to his passing. I thought they did like a several week long screening series at the Portland Museum of Art where they showed 4 or 5 maybe of his films.
Yeah, they showed.
What did they do? I went and saw Lost Highway. And
Lost Highway. They must have showed Mulholland Drive.
They did Mulholland Drive. They did Firewalk with Me.
Firewalk with Me.
They might have done Blue Velvet as well.
Wild at Heart, maybe.
And maybe Wild at Heart. That might have been
those are the heavy hitters.
Right.
David Lynch films. Yeah, I'm not a David Lynch. I'm not a connoisseur of David Lynch.
I'm not either, really.
Yeah.
But I went with a couple buddies of mine, and yeah, they were showing it right in their big screening auditorium, and it was like really packed. Like it was really, really packed. It wasn't, it wasn't that there were no empty seats, but like it was a Sunday at 3:30, I think, and I would say the theater was about half full for
That's
like
amazing.
for like a non-conventional cinema space. I thought it was really cool to see.
And that's a pretty big house.
Yes, it is.
There.
It is.
I don't know how many seats it is.
It's
like
more than 100.
More than 100. Yeah. So that's a very good turnout.
It's a good number of folks
for a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah. And then just after that, it was at Blue, which is a local music venue in Portland. They did like a David Lynch tribute night, and local musicians put together a show of music and songs from his TV and movies. I think a lot of people, when they think of David Lynch and music, they think of Twin Peaks, and there's a ton of Twin Peaks, and I think a lot of people showed up for Twin Peaks. You can kind of sense when people were sort of like, oh, I don't remember what movie this one is from, or like, I don't know this
Twin
song.
Peaks.
Yeah. But it was really fun. Again, that was like a Thursday night maybe, or something like that. And Blue is a relatively small space, but it was a very full space. And, just to see another way, like another art form paying homage to him too. It was a really cool, it was kind of like a bunch of things happening at once. We had just been recording and we'd been working on Play Week things, and we didn't really know that we were going to be taking this break at the time. But, to have that going on and to be thinking about film so much, and then to be seeing all of these things happening in the community really kind of shone a light on what happens here and what people care about and what people enjoy doing. Yeah.
And I really love those sort of film adjacent events, like they do like Hans Zimmer in concert or something, soundtrack, like performing the soundtracks, or like dress up, like costume contests, or like any kind of thing that is not a screening, but is sort of like celebrating the culture of film is just so special and gives people an opportunity to celebrate people like David Lynch, who is absolutely beloved in the world of independent cinema.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a real powerhouse.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, it's shared experience, I think, these concerts or these screenings or whatever. It's like, that's what I think one of the coolest things is about going to see a movie in the theater, is that you're sharing an experience with everybody. And it's kind of like it's an agreement that everybody says, all right, we're going to,
I love that.
Shut things out. Yeah. And we're going to focus on this. And like, we're going to have this moment together, and in 2 hours or increasingly 3 hours, we're going to leave the theater and we're the Brutalist. Although, thank you, intermission at the Brutalist.
Adrian Brody's speech at the Oscars.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I think that's an important thing for people, and I think it's an important thing for a community, is to have moments that are shared. And there's so much of that in going to the movies and going to these movie adjacent events, and brought me a lot of joy in this sort of never-ending, rainy, snowy, horrible, dark spring that we seem to just be pulling out of right now.
Yeah. It's really, it's really nice. And speaking of nice, I saw...
Yes. We've been taking Segway classes, and Julia has aced her final exam.
You didn't know what was coming.
I had no idea. She saw the panic in my eyes. Take it away.
Excellent. Okay, so speaking of nice weather, I just saw A Nice Indian Boy, which is...
The movie, not a guy on the street.
Right. Exactly. We were, we had a Maine Playweek team meeting the other night, and I was talking about this, and we were talking about, taking pictures in the cinema and sort of like recording our experience and trying to get content around being in the theater. And I said, like, yeah, I was trying to, I was thinking about taking a picture of a nice Indian boy. and our colleague Tony was like, that's rude. that's rude. Don't just take pictures of people. No, okay. This is a film starring Karan Soni,
friend of the pod,
the pod, who liked one of our Instagram posts.
Yeah, for the Maine Playweek, not for the organization in general, not even for the pod.
Right. Yeah. Which was like amazing. I think because we
tagged the movie.
We tagged the movie. We like hashtag, I don't know, whatever. But he liked it. Oh my gosh, our first like
blue check mark.
Check mark. So exciting. So it's a rom-com, and it's a gay rom-com with Karan Soni and Jonathan Groff of Broadway fame, Hamilton, Merrily We Roll.
Yeah, Merrily We
the
Roll
one
Along.
with Daniel Radcliffe.
Yes. Yep.
And it was delightful. So the film was a rom-com, which is always kind of rare in theaters, or it's becoming increasingly rare. And I went with two friends, Sasha and Brenna, and they both really wanted to see it. And it was just so nice to be in a theater watching kind of a mid-budget rom-com. Feels like anything and everything in theaters is action, is horror,
and is huge. It's like
huge. Yeah,
$200-300 million. Yeah,
like CGI, like crazy CGI. And this film was just like, it was simple. It was actually like, there were several shots where I noticed, I was like, wow, that's a really pretty shot, actually, which I was not expecting of a, sort of a mid-budget rom-com. I was not expecting to be noticing the cinematography. I think that rom-coms are increasingly scarce in theatrical venues, and I have made it a mission, and my friends too, Sasha and Brenna, who I went with, have kind of made it our mission that when there's a rom-com in theaters, we got to show up.
Nice. Because
if we don't show up, then they're going to stop being in theaters. Right. They're just going to go to streaming. And so we got to show up.
2025, the year of the rom-com.
That's right.
Right on.
That's right.
Cool. That's where did you see it?
At the Nick.
At the Nick. Nice.
And we were the only 3 people there. It was a Sunday evening. It's in week 3 or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's not a new film anymore, so it makes sense. But it also meant that we could just like kind of chat throughout, which is
that's kind of fun.
A little risk, a little taboo,
Sure.
And not at all something I would do if there's other people in the theater.
Right.
That is very rude. But it was just us 3, and we were just kind of shooting the shit.
That's really fun.
Which was great.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Love it. I've not gotten a chance to go to the movies lately. I've been very, very busy. We just closed a show for a new theater venue in town. And so I've not been able to go to movies while I've been rehearsing and performing for that. But I've been getting my film fix by starting a little physical media collection. So I started a new job a couple months ago now, and right next door to the building is a Dollar General. And one day I had my hour-long break, and I was like, I'll go I'm bored, I'll just
root around in the Dollar General. Why not?
Just see what's over there. And I walked in, and I did a lap, and like in the very, very, very back of the store was like a bargain DVD bin. And I was like, all right, I mean, I'm not going to go see what they have. And I went over there, and it was loaded with good stuff. Excellent. It was so good. The first time I went, I walked out with, I think, like 7 movies. And I spent like $8 or something like that.
Excellent.
Yeah, they have a lot of like bundle packs. So like I got, for my roommate, I got Now You See Me 1 and 2. For my roommate, I got all 4 Hunger Games movies. For me, I got all 3 Rush Hour movies. And I got Oceans 11, 12, and 13 all in one box. And I got the 3 movies that are like the Taylor Sheridan ones. It's Sicario, Wind River, and Hell or High Water.
Oh.
I don't know if you've seen any of those. They're really fun.
I haven't. But
I really only knew Taylor Sheridan from being like a name that I associated with Yellowstone, which I've never seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
right.
he is. I have seen all 3 of those movies now, and I'm a big Taylor Sheridan fan. Turns out.
Wow.
Yeah, they're very,
knew?
very good. I know. I would not have if I hadn't gone to the Dollar General bargain bin, and I've now had to limit myself to 1 trip a week because there are a few days when I was coming home, like a few weeks when I was coming home with like 3 to 4 movies every day, and I was like, all right, we gotta put a lid on this.
Yeah, gotta pare back a little.
Yeah. So that's been most of my movie screenings lately.
I love it.
Have been at home.
There's something to say about physical media and just like
it's really fun
like
to have
buying a DVD and knowing that you can watch that no matter what.
I got Jaws for $4 the other day.
And you know what? Jaws is out of release right now.
What does that mean?
Well, it means it's not available for theaters to screen.
Interesting.
Right now because they're doing a huge re-release over Labor Day.
Okay, because I was going to say this is the 50th.
Yeah, they're doing a big 50th anniversary re-release over Labor Day. So stay tuned for theaters in the area playing Jaws 50th.
I was really floored by how good Jaws is.
I've never seen it, actually.
Wow.
I know.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I won't go too much into it, but like Steven Spielberg was basically an unknown guy at the point that he made this movie, and it is incredible to watch him handle the camera. And it's weird too to think about like shooting on film, when like the shots you were getting was like a physical resource. If you run out of film, you're screwed, right?
You have to pay a lot more money.
And so to like watch him get however many shots kind of in a single take was really interesting. Like a lot of very long takes that would sort of transform from shot to shot.
I love a long take.
Yeah. Just really interesting stuff, and like some really cool, like there's a scene where they're on the beach and the camera is focusing on one lady. She's talking about how nobody who grew up on the island could ever understand what it's like to be a true islander. And it zooms out from her, and you can see one of the main characters, who is the police chief of the island and who is not from the island, sitting there on the beach. And it's just like a very simple way of saying like, this is the vibe on the island. He feels like he's an outcast without doing too much. It's just like and makes me sound dumb when I explain it like that. But I was watching it on the couch a couple weeks ago, and I thought, what a very deft move for him to handle it that way. And I just I don't know, it's fantastic. I loved it. I was like, maybe they don't make movies like this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that, maybe they don't.
Yeah.
I think, it's like because the technology has changed, the techniques that go along with filmmaking have changed a lot, and that's a whole nother podcast.
Right,
I feel like,
right.
But yeah, and I think that film as a medium, that's the only way that kind of that artistry can be shown.
Yeah,
it's just so that's such a unique way to convey perspectives and emotions.
Yeah.
And Yeah. Anyway, did you guys know that we like movies?
Yeah, it turns out we like movies. And when we say we're not going to give you our opinions on movies and we're going to talk about going to the movies, what we mean is that we're going to talk about movies sometimes. And we're also going to try talking about going to the movies as much as we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We're just huge nerds. It is what it is.
To put a button on being a huge nerd and to put a button on Jaws, I did go to Target the other day and bought the big Jaws Lego set that they have.
Oh my gosh.
I'm building that right now because I bought a new set of shelves for my DVDs.
Wow.
And also for my Lego.
This is how it starts. This is how the addiction starts.
Yeah, I can quit anytime I want though, so it's actually super fine and chill. It has gotten me thinking about like how cool it is to own things. You know, there are movies where I'm like, I need to own this. I tried to watch Oh Brother, Where Art Thou the other day, which is a favorite of mine. And there's nowhere that is just streaming it. I rented it from some streaming site. And I thought, I'm going to want to watch this again in the future. Like, I should just get it. So I'm hoping the Dollar General magic works. And one of these Fridays when I go in, it will appear in the magic bargain bin.
I bet it will. We're putting it out into the universe.
Yes, please, everybody, put out those vibes.
Yeah, because streaming services, these huge corporations that run these streaming sites, they can pull whatever they want at any time. They can just say, no, like, you can't watch Harry Potter, or, you know, it's like, you can't watch, The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, you can never watch it again. And so the people who can watch it are the people who have that on physical media, whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, on film, or even on VHS.
Yeah.
I think that's a prediction for the next few years.
You think VHS is coming back?
I think VHS is coming back.
I was wondering about that myself. I went to Weekend Vintage a couple weeks ago, which is a vintage store here in town, and they have a lot of VHSs for sale. And they didn't have any DVDs, which I was looking for. But I was like, are VHSs? Like, who's buying these?
Honestly,
is somebody coming? Like, are people buying these? Is VHS coming back?
Honestly, I might start buying VHSs.
Cool. Do it. Yeah.
Because the nostalgia of seeing a film on physical film is like, that's a great marketing tactic that a lot of theaters use, which is great. The problem is that there's not that many movies that are on film anymore, because these prints from, back when they were shooting everything on film, basically pre 2010. It's actually quite recent.
Yeah. Wow.
I know. Isn't that crazy? These prints, they get old, they get damaged, like they get lost. And now it's incredibly expensive to shoot anything on film. Yeah. So most people are like, obviously we're just going to shoot it
do that
digitally.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if showing things on VHS is going to become a similar marketing tactic for theaters.
That'd be cool.
I would totally show up for that.
Yeah, that's rad.
I don't know if it would look any different.
Who knows? But I don't know these things. Yeah. So that's, I think, us for right now. We are trying to get back into the swing of this, and we're going to try to go see more movies. And I think probably before you get more topical movies, you'll hear an episode with slightly less topical movies in it, because we do have some that we saw over the break. So we'll see what happens, but we're trying to see more movies. And thanks for listening to us. We've been the Maine Pod Week. I'm Nate.
I'm Julia.
And hope to see you at the movies.
Yay! See you at the movies.